In the 5th year of marriage, my husband brought his mistress and child to my door, asking me to make it happen. After my mother-in-law found out, she demanded that I immediately divorce my husband and give this home to her new daughter-in-law and precious grandson. I smiled slightly and agreed right away. Whoever wants to jump into this pit of fire can do so. Gwen, hurry up and sign the divorce agreement. My mother-in-law sat on the sofa with a sense of righteousness. I couldn't help but curl my lips, yet I still put on a pitiful expression and looked at Jason. Jason frowned. Gwen, after all these years you still can't have children, we shouldn't delay any longer. I pinched my thigh hard and finally squeezed out a few tears. May, standing to the side, said sarcastically, "Sigh, who told my belly to be so promising? The first one is a son, sister, you should hurry and leave." I couldn't help but twitch the corner of my mouth at those words. Who knows whose child this is? Anyway, it's not like I'm the one who can't give birth. Jason pulled May behind him and walked up to me with a deep look in his eyes. Gwen, we've been together for so many years, you wouldn't want to see the G family without descendants, right? Let's part on good terms. Looking at the hypocritical Jason in front of me, a wave of disgust rose in my heart, and I wanted to pounce on him and tear off his mask. I sighed, pretending to be reluctant, and nodded. Jason, Grandma, and May's eyes lit up. Grandma breathed a sigh of relief, her tone softened as she handed the divorce agreement to me. Gwen, Mom knows you are a good child, it's just that our families are not fated to be together. After signing this, Mom will still treat you like a daughter. I scoffed inwardly, your own daughter hasn't visited you in years. I glanced at the agreement. If they wanted me to divorce, the document had to be rewritten according to my demands. My mother-in-law's expression changed instantly, and she screamed in shock, Gwen, don't be ungrateful, for so many years, it has been my son supporting you. Giving you $200,000 is already quite generous. I took a deep breath, suppressing my impulse. It was you who made me quit my job to stay home and have children. For so many years, I have served your family, and this price wouldn't even be enough to hire an hourly worker outside. I tore the divorce agreement in my hands. I also paid for this house back then, and now I own half of it. My mother-in-law snorted, there's no name of yours on the property deed, and it's only a few $100,000. Jason lowered his head guiltily, Mom, Gwen's name is on the property deed. I raised an eyebrow and smiled, lounging leisurely on the sofa. When we bought the house, we agreed that I would cover the majority of the down payment, while Jason would contribute a smaller amount, and he would handle the mortgage payments from then on. If I had the means, I could also contribute to the payments. On the day we signed the contract, Jason suddenly said to put his name on the property deed first, and that my name could be added when we bought a second house later. Fortunately, my mom had repeatedly reminded me that since I was putting up the money, my name had to be on the property deed. I didn't agree, and seeing my firm stance, Jason gave in and wrote both our names on it. May's expression changed. Previously, Jason had coaxed her, saying that as long as she gave birth to the child, her name would be on the property deed. Grandma walked up to Jason and scolded him, didn't you tell me before that only your name is on the property deed? Now that the house is worth so much, how much will she get if you divorce? May quietly pinched her son in her arms, and the child immediately began to cry. With tears in her eyes, May looked at Jason, Jason, it's my misfortune to follow you. But Mau is still so small, he can't end up on the streets with me. Jason held May in his arms with a pained expression, and shot me a fierce glare. I felt a wave of speechlessness. It's not like I asked you to cheat. Grandma turned back to me with the same good-natured expression from before, Gwen, you've been married into the G family for 5 years now. I've treated you pretty well during these 5 years, haven't I? I looked at Grandma's constantly changing expressions and felt it would be a shame if she didn't learn the art of face changing. Mom, for so many years, I've been the one cleaning the house, washing the clothes, cooking the meals, changing the light bulbs when they break, and unclogging the toilet. Do you think that's pretty good? The mother-in-law's expression changed. Aren't these all things a daughter-in-law should do? I pulled the sleeve that was grasped by the mother-in-law back and looked at the three of them. 3 million, give me 3 million and I'll agree to the divorce. Jason pushed May aside angrily and walked up to me. "3 million, why don't you go rob a bank? At first, it was my investment that funded your startup. Without me, how could you have reached your current position?" I crossed my arms and sat leisurely on the sofa, watching Jason, who was fuming above. Grandma pulled Jason aside to look at me. "Then we won't get a divorce. I've been dragging you along to see what you can do." May started to cry again, saying, "Jason, in 2 years, Mel will be going to school. Should he live with the label of being a wild child?" I looked at May's tears that came so easily, and I truly admired her. Jason thought for a long time. His company was about to enter the second round of financing, and if Gwen caused a scene at this moment, it would be disastrous. Jason glanced at me with a disdainful tone. "Fine, 3 million. After the divorce, you are not allowed to appear in Xinjiang again." I rolled my eyes in my heart. If it weren't for you begging me to come to Xinjiang, I would never have left my hometown in this lifetime. Jason and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register our divorce. If it weren't for the 1-month cooling-off period, I would have left right now. When I got home to pack my bags, I saw May eagerly moving in. May brought her luggage into the master bedroom and shouted at me, "Since we're divorced, you don't expect to live here anymore, do you?" I packed my things, picked up the suitcase, ignored her, and turned to walk out. Jason was afraid I would change my mind, so he transferred $1 million to me first. I looked at the number on the bank card, feeling great, and checked into a high-end hotel, waiting to collect the divorce certificate in a month. I lay in the hotel bathtub soaking, looking at the bustling city, reminiscing about my past with Jason. I was born and raised in Binhai, and 10 years ago I was admitted to the local Binhai University's Chinese department. At the New Year's Eve party in my sophomore year, I met Jason, who came to Binhai for his graduate studies. I am tall and good-looking, and I have had quite a few people pursue me since I was young, but Jason is different from the others. Because I have a straightforward and candid personality, most of the people who pursue me are direct. If I like them, I accept them, and if I don't, I reject them outright. Jason kept me hanging like a frog in warm water, often asking about my well-being, sending small gifts today, and watching a movie together tomorrow, but he never confessed his feelings. Over time, I couldn't take it anymore and deliberately walked with other boys to provoke him. He finally got a bit anxious and confessed to me. After Jason and I got together, he treated me well. The year he graduated from his master's program happened to be the same year I graduated from my undergraduate studies. He urged me to return to Xinjiang with him. However, I had grown up by the coast my whole life, so I felt a bit conflicted about it. Later, Jason held me in his arms, tears in his eyes, saying he didn't want to break up and didn't want a long-distance relationship. Looking at the pitiful Jason, my heart softened, and despite my family's objections, I went with him to Xinjiang. After arriving in Xinjiang, I found a job as an editor at a magazine, while Jason chose to start his own business. After a year of struggling, Jason's work still showed no signs of improvement. I watched Jason, who worked so hard every day, and felt a pang of heartache. I invested the money I had saved during college into him and asked a relative in finance to introduce clients to him. 6 months later, Jason's company took off, and then he proposed to me. Not long after we got married, Jason told me again to quit my job and stay at home to have children, saying he had the ability to support me. In the first year of our marriage, I didn't get pregnant, and Jason said there was no rush, that there would be opportunities in the future. In the second year of our marriage, I wasn't pregnant, and my mother-in-law found a bunch of prescriptions for fertility drugs for me to take, but Jason said nothing. In the third year of our marriage, I had not become pregnant, and Jason's face was already showing signs of worry. He rarely came home. In the fourth year of our marriage, I had not become pregnant, and Jason often argued with me, living in a house outside. In the fifth year of our marriage, I had not become pregnant, and Jason brought home the woman from outside and their child, wanting to divorce me. A sudden ring of the doorbell interrupted my memories. I put on my bathrobe and opened the door, and there stood Jason's younger sister, Lynn. Lynn smiled and greeted me from outside. I opened the door and asked, "How did you find your way here?" Lynn casually lay down on the sofa and said, "I'm here to congratulate you. Congratulations on escaping that den of wolves." "How did you know that I divorced your brother?" "That woman posted it on her Moments, so of course I knew." I frowned at Lynn. Lynn explained to me that May and Jason were middle school classmates and each other's first love, but they were separated by Jason's mother back then. "It seems Jason has deceived me quite a bit over the years." Lynn poured herself a glass of water and asked, "You've been with the G family for so many years, and you're just leaving like this. Don't you think it's a pity?" I smiled slightly and replied, "Leaving is just the first step, there's more to come." Lynn posted, "What are you planning to do? Tell me about it." "That's your mom and your brother. Do you really want to see them in trouble like this?" Lynn carelessly collapsed onto the bed. "Ever since the day they wanted to sell me, I haven't considered them family." Lynn's grandparents always favored boys over girls. When Lynn was little, she grew up with her grandparents in her hometown. When Lynn was 8 years old, her grandparents passed away, and only then did her father and mother bring her back. In Lynn's first year of high school, her grandfather passed away due to illness. Her grandmother said she couldn't afford to support Lynn's education and wanted her to drop out. It was only after Lynn and the school persuaded her for a long time, and the school promised to waive Lynn's tuition, that her grandmother finally relented. Later, when Lynn got into college, her mother-in-law never contributed a single cent towards living expenses or tuition. After I found out, I would occasionally transfer some money to Lynn. 2 years ago, Jason's company was short on funds, and his mother-in-law wanted to marry Lynn off to a man in his 50s in exchange for money for Jason's company. Lynn refused to comply and ran away to another place, never to return again. "Oh, come on, sister-in-law, just tell me," Lynn asked, clinging to my arm in a playful manner. "I'm not your sister-in-law anymore, so please don't call me that." "Then I'll call you Sister Gwen." I took out 2 sheets of paper from my bag and handed them to Lynn. Lynn looked at the papers in confusion and suddenly shouted, "Jason's sperm survival rate is 10%, that child is not Jason's." 3 months ago, I begged Jason to go for a checkup with me. Jason had no choice but to nod in agreement after I wore him down, and after he reluctantly finished the checkup, he left. I went alone to pick up the results. In these years, my checkups have shown no issues. The doctor suggested that my husband also get checked. After I told Jason, he looked at me angrily and said he wouldn't have any problems. Seeing the child, I finally understood why he was so confident. I took back the list from Lynn's hand. It wasn't time to break the window yet. Okay, you have to tell me in advance so I can see the good show." Gwen looked at Lynn. "I just don't know who May's biological father is right now." Lynn instantly became interested. "I'll go back and find out for you." May lay on the sofa, holding a plate of grapes, watching television, occasionally bursting into laughter. The grandmother came out holding her grandson and, seeing May lounging on the sofa, felt a surge of anger. She said to her grandson in her arms, "When you marry in the future, don't forget your mother. Whatever you have, make sure to prioritize being filial to your own mom." May pretended not to understand. "Mom, he's only 2 years old, he can't understand these words." Her mother-in-law was even more furious. Jason came out of the room with his tie on. "May, why isn't my shirt ironed, and where's that tie clip?" "I'm about to leave." May replied nonchalantly, "I'm not your hired maid, how would I know where your tie clip is?" Grandma angrily pointed at Jason. "If it weren't for the child, I wouldn't allow her to enter the G family's door." May was also furious upon hearing this. "If it weren't for Jason begging me to have the child, I wouldn't want to step into your family's big door either. With such a large family business, you don't even think to hire a nanny. After using Gwen, you want to use me too? No way." Jason could only play the peacemaker in the middle, calming one and then the other. The doorbell suddenly rang, and Jason hurried out of the chaos to open the door. "What are you doing back?" At the door stood Lynn, carrying a large bag and several smaller ones. "Mom, brother, I've been fired." As soon as Lynn walked in, she sat on the sofa and cried loudly, "Mom, I should have listened to you and married Boss Lou." After Lynn's heartfelt complaints, her mother-in-law and May also stopped arguing. The mother-in-law sat down beside Lynn and said, "If you had listened to me back then, you would be a wealthy lady now. Sigh, Lou boss got married last year, next time, I'll find you someone even richer." May stood to the side holding the child, curling her lips in disdain as she glanced at the mother and daughter. Lynn, in her grandmother's arms, rolled her eyes, thinking to herself that if it weren't for the chance to see a good show, she wouldn't have come back at all. I lay in bed watching the variety show on TV, my phone ringing incessantly beside me. Ever since Lynn came home, she has been messaging me every day about the chaotic happenings at her place. It's not that today the mother-in-law blames May for not doing housework, it's that tomorrow she'll blame May for only knowing how to reach out to Jason for money. Perhaps Jason is true love, as he mostly stands by May's side. I was annoyed by the noise and opened my phone. Lynn said something big happened at the G family today. May lost one of Jason's major clients. I was instantly curious. Although Jason isn't much of a person, he is still diligent at work. I sent Lynn a message about the holiday cafe, "See you in 20 minutes. Such an exciting thing must be discussed in person. I sat by the window, slowly savoring my coffee, enjoying the gentle breeze on my face, when I saw Lynn running over with an excited expression. Jason is about to have a big event this time. Lynn had just sat down, still catching her breath. I curiously asked, "What happened?" "A few days ago, Jason met with a big client and said that if he could secure this deal, the G family wouldn't have to worry for the rest of their lives. However, during a dinner party that night, May, after arguing with my mom, frantically called Jason. Later, Jason turned off his phone. May asked the secretary for the address and went over, interrupting the meal. When Jason returned, they had a huge fight, and for several days afterward, he didn't give her a good face." Lynn took a breath, picked up a glass of water from the table and gulped it down, then continued speaking. Jason also had bad luck, although they didn't lose the client because of May's commotion. On the day of signing the contract, May remembered what had happened a few days earlier. She tore up Jason's contract and even hid the USB drive. I leisurely picked up my coffee and took a sip. "Your brother is such a meticulous person, doesn't he have a backup?" Lynn chuckled. "Of course there's a backup, but May is quite the talent, holding Jason back and not letting him leave." I raised an eyebrow and smiled. At first, I just thought May was a bit materialistic, but now it seems she's quite reckless. Lynn continued, "By the time Jason manages to soothe May and arrives at the scene, the client will have already boarded the plane. I remember before, there was a time when Jason's contract was left at home, and he called me to bring it over. I was anxious and hurried all the way, even twisting my ankle, and in the end, all I got was a 'Why are you so slow?' Lynn interrupted my thoughts. "However, I've been back for almost half a month, and I haven't seen May or anyone else get in touch. I close my eyes and enjoy the warm sunlight. There's no rush, the tale will always show itself." As soon as I walked into the hotel lobby, I saw a familiar face. "Long time no see, Gwen." When Eric saw me, he came over to greet me. "Long time no see, how come you're in Xinjiang?" "I'm here to meet a client, are you staying at this hotel?" I pressed my lips together and smiled, saying, "I'm staying here for a few days, I'll go back after I get the divorce certificate." Eric looked shocked, seemingly unable to believe as he asked, "You're getting a divorce?" In his incredulous gaze, I nodded. I waved my hand. "I have something to do, I'll head up first, let's have a meal together when we have time." Back in the room, I lay on the soft bed, staring at the void before me. Eric was my high school classmate, and during high school, we were both the stars of the school. Our family backgrounds were similar, our ages were similar, and even our interests were alike. After graduating from high school, we naturally ended up together. However, his university was in another city, and we couldn't meet often, and over time, our feelings faded. On May 20th of my freshman year, everyone in the dorm was with their boyfriends. I called him, and he said he was busy with experiments and would accompany me next time. Later, I brought up breaking up with him. He came to find me a few times wanting to win me back, but I rejected him each time. 6 months later, I met Jason. I was sound asleep in the middle of the night when I was awakened by a ringing phone. Without seeing who was calling, I picked it up. Hello? But there was no sound on the other end. I asked again, who is it? After waiting for a while with still no response, just as I was about to hang up, a voice came from the other end of the phone. Jason's voice was muffled, as if he had drunk quite a bit. Gwen, how nice it would be if we were like before, how nice it would be if you could give birth. I was so angry I laughed. Get lost. Finally, the day had come to pick up the divorce certificate. I woke up early and waited at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I waited for a long time at the door, but Jason never showed up. When I called him, he didn't answer. I had no choice but to get May's contact information from Lynn. Hello. Who is this? May's voice came through the line. Now there is less than an hour until the Civil Affairs Bureau closes. If we don't leave this time, the price won't be the same next time. As soon as I finished speaking, the other side hung up the phone with a bang. 20 minutes later, Jason finally appeared in front of me. Hurry up, the Civil Affairs Bureau will close soon. Gwen, Before Jason could finish his words, a sound of beep came from behind. May was urging from the car, holding the child. As the staff handed me the stamped divorce certificate, the chapter of my marriage with Jason came to an end. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt the breath of freedom. Seeing me so happy, Jason felt even more depressed. Gwen, will we meet again in the future? I turned to Jason and suddenly felt that my past self was truly blind to have ever liked someone like him. Why don't you look in the mirror and see for yourself if you deserve to be remembered by me? In the past, I was gentle and kind in front of Jason, and over time, I almost forgot that I was a straightforward and sunny person. In the dazed look in Jason's eyes, I turned around and left gracefully. I returned to the hotel to rest when Eric called me. Looking at the phone number on the screen, I felt very conflicted. Having just come out of one pit of fire, I didn't want to jump into another. I know Eric's thoughts. He came to Xinjiang to win me back the year I married Jason. During my marriage to Jason, he also called me, and I firmly rejected him each time. I still answered the call, wanting to clarify things with him, and we agreed to meet at a restaurant. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the restaurant according to the address. Looking at the sign in front of the restaurant, this is a couple's restaurant. As I walked into the restaurant, I saw Eric waving at me. I ordered you the smoked salmon and French snails that you like. Let's see if there's anything else you want. Eric politely handed me the menu. A medium-rare filet mignon, a cream of mushroom soup, and forget about what he just ordered. I looked at Eric, who appeared embarrassed, and smiled slightly. After all these years, my tastes have long since changed. Eric quickly adjusted his expression. When do you plan to return to Benhai? Probably in a few days. Just as Eric was about to ask me something, an angry voice came from beside us. It turned out that the divorce was so straightforward because a new partner had already been found. Jason angrily walked up to me, with May following behind, wearing a mocking expression. May looked at Eric and me, rolled her eyes, and ran to Jason's side with a look of grievance. Jason, it turns out they had already found someone outside, while pretending to be pure, taking quite a bit of your money. Jason, provoked by May, became even angrier and wanted to grab Eric by the collar. I tugged at my lips and said to him, Jason, not everyone likes to cheat like you do. Their commotion attracted quite a few onlookers, and Jason was left blushing from what I said. Jason didn't believe it and stepped forward to question me. Gwen, did you divorce me for him? At that moment, I really felt like Jason's mind was all muddled. I shot him a glance. We only met a few days ago, and you have no right to meddle in my affairs now. Jason seemed to have just remembered the fact that we were already divorced, momentarily lost in thought, wanting to reach out and pull me away. I watched his movements and took a step back, and a fleeting look of grievance appeared in Jason's eyes. The gazes around us grew more numerous, and many people whispered and speculated about the relationship here. May seemed very embarrassed upon hearing this and pulled Jason out of the restaurant. After Jason and May left, more eyes turned to Eric and me. Eric looked around at the curious onlookers and said to me, "How about we change to another place? There are quite a few people watching us." I shook my head, picked up the knife and fork, and started eating the steak. The food here is quite good, and it's not my problem. Why should I leave? Whoever wants to watch can watch. Seeing my calm demeanor, Eric suddenly laughed. "You've really changed a lot. If the old you had heard something like this, you would have rushed up to argue with them long ago." In the 5 years of marriage to Jason, the G family taught me a lot. In the first year, not getting pregnant, my mother-in-law's attitude towards me was still quite good. In the second year, my mother-in-law no longer had her previous attitude, often making sarcastic remarks in front of me, sighing about whose family next door had a grandchild, and mocking me as a hen that couldn't lay eggs. At first, I would argue with my mother-in-law and cry to Jason, but over time, I stopped reacting. Seeing my attitude, my mother-in-law became even more angry. That night, I made my feelings clear to Eric. He smiled and hugged me, saying he wouldn't bother me anymore. Back at the hotel, I saw Jason standing at the door of my room. I frowned at the drunken man in front of me. "How did you know I was staying here?" Jason slowly approached me. "One of my clients saw you living here, so I followed the address and came over. We have already divorced. Please do not disturb me anymore in the future." I tried to speak to Jason calmly. Jason suddenly held me in his arms, tears falling on my ear. "Wife, I regret it. After you left, there was no warmth in the home, only the sound of May and my mom arguing every day." I pushed Jason away forcefully. "You don't regret divorcing me, you just feel like you're missing a free maid and aren't used to it. In the past, I always endured everything, letting you and your mother command me at will, even to the point of insult. You have never stood up for me, and now you come here pretending to be deep and affectionate. It's disgusting." Jason's eyes were red, shaking his head, murmuring, "We shouldn't be like this." I turned my face away, no longer looking at him. "Let's hurry and leave, or I'm going to call the police." Jason picked up the clothes from the ground and walked away in a daze. Watching Jason's departing figure, I quickly swiped my card to enter the room and locked the door behind me. The next day, a colleague from the magazine office messaged me to meet. Kitty handed me a thick envelope. Kitty and I joined the magazine on the same day and have always had a good relationship. Later, I resigned and went home, and she switched to another magazine to work in the entertainment section. Over the years, we have kept in touch frequently. Your ex-husband's mistress has quite a rich history. Kitty held a straw in her mouth, looking at the photos laid out on the table. Since I found out that Jason was cheating, I asked Kitty to help me look into May. After all, she knows a lot of people in this area. In the photos, May is seen entering hotels and shopping malls with different men. Kitty's excited voice rang out. "That child was conceived 2 years ago, counting the days it should belong to this person." Kitty pointed at a man in the photo. Kitty told me that for so many years, May had been relying on her good looks, mingling among a group of rich second-generation kids. 3 years ago, she even reached the point of getting married to a rich second generation, but later the rich second generation's family had an accident, his parents passed away, and he ended up in prison. At that time, May was already pregnant. I remember 3 years ago, Jason often stayed out all night, so he must have reunited with May around that time. Later, when May got pregnant, Jason probably thought the child was his. A few days ago, Lynn messaged me to say that May has been urging Jason to get married, but Jason has been avoiding her. No matter how much May makes a fuss, Jason remains indifferent. Looking at the different men in the photos, it seems May is starting to feel anxious about finding a new partner. May is extremely anxious at home every day. A few days ago, she brought up the topic of marriage with Jason, but he actually refused, even when she moved Mau Mau out. Seeing that Mau Mau is becoming less and less like Jason, May's heart feels a bit uneasy. She needs to make plans early. Since Jason came to see me last time, I changed to a different hotel. I booked a flight back to Binhai the day after tomorrow, just in time to say goodbye to my old friends. Lynn knew I was leaving and insisted on coming to the hotel to stay with me for 2 days. Lynn and Kitty saw me off at the security checkpoint. Lynn looked at me with swollen eyes. Sister Gwen, I will come to see you when I have time. Kitty, on the other hand, calmly hugged me and said, if anything happens, call me. Jason stood not far away, hesitating whether to come forward and say goodbye to me. I pretended not to see and turned to walk into the turnstile. Sitting by the window, looking at the cityscape below. Xinjiang is a beautiful place, but this place holds my unbearable past, and I think perhaps I will never return here again. As soon as I walked out of the airport, I saw my parents waiting for me at the door. I rushed into their arms, tears streaming down my face. I didn't cry in the face of my mother-in-law's difficulties. I didn't cry when Jason ignored me. I didn't cry in response to May's provocation, and even when I found out about Jason's infidelity, I still didn't cry. My parents held me in their arms, comforting me with concern. The house was still arranged the same as before, and the familiar atmosphere made me feel incredibly at ease. In the 5 years of marriage with Jason, I only hurried back 3 times, and each time I was urged by my mother-in-law to return. Looking at the strands of white hair mixed in my parents' heads, I felt guilty for not having accompanied them properly all these years. Fortunately, this time I am back for good, and I will take good care of them in the future. After returning to the coast, I spent every day at home either eating or sleeping. My parents didn't care about me, and even to avoid making me sad, they didn't ask about the reason for my divorce. A year ago, I felt that Jason might be cheating, so I asked Kitty to help me investigate him. The moment I found out he had a child, I was surprisingly a bit happy. At least I could get a larger share of the assets in the divorce. I always knew there was nothing wrong with me. I thought the problem might be with Jason. But the appearance of that child made me hesitate. I urged Jason to go check it with me because I knew that with his arrogant nature, he wouldn't care about that report. When I got the report, I was overjoyed, feeling as if someone had avenged me. Later, I told my parents that I wanted a divorce. They thought of Xinjiang to support me, but I told them I could handle it myself. Before leaving Xinjiang, I sent Jason's report to him and anonymously sent 2 copies of May's photo to May and Jason. I suppose the G family must be in a complete mess by now. Gwen, it's time to eat. I've made your favorite cola chicken wings. The voices of my parents pulled me back from my memories. At the dining table, my parents exchanged uncertain glances, signaling each other. I smiled and put down my bowl. Mom and Dad, what do you want to say? Dad cleared his throat awkwardly. Should we say hello to Uncle Feng, who is working with Jason? Uncle Feng is the client I introduced to Jason 5 years ago, and they have been collaborating ever since. He is also a major client of Jason's company. You should tell Uncle Feng about the divorce. As for the cooperation between the 2 businesses, Uncle Feng should have a good idea in his mind. After lying at home for a few months, I decided to start a career. After all, I had been a housewife for 5 years and had somewhat lost touch with society. So I decided to pick up the pen again and become a writer. I'll start by writing about myself. After Jason learned that Gwen was leaving that day, he abandoned the ongoing meeting and rushed to the airport, hoping to win Gwen back. But when he actually saw Gwen, he hesitated. He didn't know how to face her. Jason sat in the car, lost and dejected, while the phone screen beside him flickered. When he saw that the message was from Gwen, Jason's eyes instantly lit up. After clearly understanding the content of the information, Jason's face turned ashen. He couldn't believe the data inside. Later, he consulted a doctor, who said that given his sperm survival rate, the chances of having a child were extremely low. Jason remembered when he met May again 3 years ago. At that time, his mother forced him every day to have children with Gwen, drinking all kinds of tonics, and the house was filled with the smell of traditional Chinese medicine every day. Gwen's face turned sallow from drinking it, and he really couldn't muster any interest. While drinking away his sorrows at the bar, Jason met May. Looking at May's peach blossom-like face, Jason felt a surge of impulse and went to the hotel with her. At first, Jason was afraid. He thought he loved Gwen, but between the sorrowful Gwen and the sexy, beautiful May, he chose the latter. Later, May told him that she was pregnant. Besides being happy, he felt a twinge of guilt, but that guilt disappeared after the child was born. When his mother learned of the child's existence, she pressured him to divorce May along with her. After Jason returned home, his mother rushed in front of him with a pile of photos. When Jason saw the photos clearly, his anger surged even more. On the other side, May also received the photo, and she was startled. Trembling, she returned to the G family, ready to take the money and leave. May returned to the G family, looking at Jason with wide, angry eyes. Just as she was about to explain, Jason threw the photo and the diagnosis sheet at May's face. May immediately felt uneasy, and when she dropped the child and prepared to run, Jason pulled her back. When Lynn told me about this, I had already begun a new chapter in my life. Later, Lynn told me again. That day, Jason beat May half to death, and May managed to catch her breath to call the police. Since the two were not married, May sued Jason for intentional injury. Jason was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Soon after, the company's shareholders meeting voted to dismiss Jason, and the G family completely lost their source of income. Grandma wanted to marry Lynn off to a disabled rich second generation in exchange for money, and when Lynn found out, she took the opportunity to run away. Later, the mother-in-law took the child to do a paternity test, and the results showed that they were not biologically related. The mother-in-law scolded May fiercely, blaming her for ruining the originally good G family and for putting a green hat on her son. May took the compensation money, secretly sold a few valuable items from the house, and ran away with the child. I finished listening to the voice message from Lynn and put away my phone. Looking at the document on my computer desktop, I wrote the first chapter of my new book. Later, someone asked me if Jason would make a comeback after getting out of prison and come to find you to get back together. Would you agree? I think I answered something like this: trash should stay in the trash can. Gwen's perspective. In the first year after the divorce, I became a writer and started my life anew, living happily and fulfilling each day. In the second year, my parents began to inquire about my relationship status. I told them that my focus is on life right now and that I am not considering dating for the time being. In the third year, I published my first book, received quite a few positive reviews, and signed with a talent agency, getting along very well with my new colleagues. In the fourth year, relatives and friends wanted to introduce me to a blind date. At first, I refused, but seeing the hopeful eyes of my parents, I went anyway. My blind date is a police officer, good-looking and exactly my type, with a great personality. After that, we kept in touch, and he said he didn't mind that I had been divorced. 6 months later, we got together. He is usually very busy with work, but luckily I am quite busy too, so I don't always think about him. In our spare time, we travel together and stay at home reading. He often creates little surprises to cheer me up. In the 5th year, we got married. The previous failed marriage did not make me lose confidence. Our marriage is very happy, without any trivial matters or a malicious mother-in-law. In the 6th year, I became pregnant. During the pregnancy, he was even more attentive to me. No matter how busy he was or how late he got off work, when he returned home, he would kiss my face and then kiss the baby in my belly, telling the child that mommy had worked hard. After the spring festival, I gave birth to a lovely daughter. After the baby was born, he did not neglect me. Whenever the baby cried in the middle of the night, he was always the first to wake up. In the 7th year, my 3rd book was officially published, and a new book signing event was held. At the signing event, I saw Jason standing at the door. He no longer had the same spirit as before, and if I saw him on the street, I definitely wouldn't recognize him. I pretended not to see it. After the signing event, my husband stood by the car with our daughter, waiting for me, and I happily ran over. My misfortune has long since ended, and a future filled with more happiness awaits me.